Before we get started, I want to warn you not to go through this packet too quickly. Remember, I don't grade the packet itself. I grade the product we're going to create after we finish the packet. Okay, so last week we were looking at following instructions, how to go through one thing after another and get everything right and follow along with what it says. Well, today in this lesson, we're going to be looking at two basic things. One, the numbers that we use, such as first, second, third. Of course, how screwy Americans do it with changing the words to firstly, next, last, finally, things like that. But we're also going to do a second thing. We're going to look at modalities. We qualify how strongly important it is for you to follow a certain instruction. For example, you should do this, you ought to do this, you must do it. These are things called modalities, and we're going to be looking at that and how to tell the modality from the verb. Okay, so let's look first at getting going. We're not going to worry about the warm-up. If you want to practice a little dialogue, go right ahead with your friends. One of them will be person A, the other person B. Get used to seeing these things, such as in the first one, it talks about the first thing you need to do is to go to network settings. Person B is going to teach person A how to follow and get onto Wi-Fi. So you're going to look at those words. Practice those for a little bit. Now here's where we're really going to get into it. So here are the words first, firstly. Look at all this vocabulary. Look for the root in it, such as second, secondly, now, next, after. I'm going to try and sequence things from first to last. Lastly, finally, don't forget all these ways we have of sequencing in the words. So look at these vocabulary words and get used to using them. I think you might want to say them a little bit in practice. If you don't know what these words mean, look them up. That's what the dictionaries are for on your desk. Quick review, the imperative verb is the verb that commands you to do something and you don't put a subject on. For example, in this case, thread the sewing machine, cut out the pattern. These are things we're telling you to do, and we don't have to say your name is implied. So there is no subject to these sentences. It just starts right off with the imperative verb. Now with procedures, you want to see that they sequence. There's a word that comes first, just before the imperative verb. For example, firstly, thread the sewing machine. Then cut out the pattern. All of these words that come before the imperative verb are the ones that help you sequence them. So practice these, get a look at these, look at the instructions, and try and see if you can figure out which number in each word, each sentence is sequencing, and which one is the imperative verb. Go ahead and do this now. Okay, in this section, we're going to be looking at how to ask for help when you are following a particular procedure. Maybe you aren't sure. So you're also going to be looking at we're going to be looking at the feedback that people are going to give you as well when you ask. So am I doing this right? What's next? Those are the things that you're going to be looking at in this one. So read through this just a little bit and see how people give you advice. Notice that there are certain words, these adverbs, carefully, quickly, slowly. Notice adverbs end with ly. Slowly, perfectly, promptly, politely. All of these words, when you see these words with the ly on the end, you will know that these are an adverb describing the verb itself. So if you want to carefully thread the needle, you sometimes have adverbs in front of the imperative verb to tell you how to do it. So go through these words. If you have questions, ask. Ask your neighbor. Ask the next table. If you still don't know, if you haven't looked it up, go ahead and ask me. I'll be floating around a little bit and helping you out. Do these now. So now we're coming to modals. We've sequenced a little bit. We've looked at first, second, third. But a modal tells you how strongly you should do something, how important it is to do it. What should I do next? You should call. The word should is a modal. The imperative is the verb do, call, wait. Normally we can say, call the plumber. Well, if you want to use a modal to talk about how important it is, well, you should call the plumber, or you must answer this question. It tells you how strong. Some words are stronger than others. There's a big difference between should and must. If you have any questions, let's go over this. In the meantime, go through these examples and practice a little bit, and practice your dialogues. Okay, so how important really is it on some of these? When you have words like must, have to, need, you have no choice really. It has to be done. When you have a choice, it's, well, you should do this, or you can get into trouble. But it's not the same thing as you must do it. So practice with these words, look them up, and see which ones are stronger. Now in this section, section 3, something's wrong. And we need to figure out what it is. So let's look at this. What I should do next. Oh, this is a common one that people get. They put the I in the wrong spot. What should I do next? So we can try and find these common mistakes. Read about it. Sometimes you don't need to have the word to. Sometimes you want to put the I in a different position. So read through these and try and figure out which one is wrong and how to fix it. Do this now. Now this task may be a little difficult for you. What you're going to do is answer the question or ask the question using the sequencing word. For example, what do I do first? Well, to answer correctly for section B, over here, you would start off with the word first. First, you thread a needle, or whatever it is that you're going to do. Am I finished, right? You will be finished when? And answer the question. Now what? Now you, and come up with something. So you're reversing it for over here where you're asking the question. Finally cut off the top with scissors. What do we finally do? Well, finally you cut off it with scissors. Next, let it dry an hour. What do we do next? Those are the types of questions you want to ask. See, we're practicing asking questions and answering questions, but use the sequencing word that we have. And if there's any modalities, make sure to put those in. So, now put the bread in the oven. What do I do now? See, these are not quite that hard, but you have to look at the answer or the question and find the word that sequences. See, after thread is showing machine. Oh, after. Now you. See how this works? So go ahead and try and finish off this task. Task 2 is the one I'm going to be grading. You're going to write about something that you know. Everybody knows how to do something. Well, what is it that you know? You're going to put these in. Do you know how to play a video or to play a game? You're going to title it. You're going to say what it is you're going to do. You're going to list your supplies and then write down the procedures. First you, whatever. And finally, whatever. And then wrap the whole thing up by telling me what it is that we just did. This is the one that we're going to be graded on, so take your time to do this. And everybody should have something different. Nobody should have the same thing. Finally, task 3 is sequencing. What you're going to do is look at what is out of order and put them in the correct order. What it is first you need to do, second what you need to do. So you're sequencing. But you're also, what you're going to do is circle the modals and underline the verb. So should be circled. Combine is the verb. So you would circle should and underline combine. Do that for all the rest of these, and then try and figure out what is a logical order that all these instructions need to be in. When you're done, just put a quick check mark into these as to how well you think you did. So you're self-grading. And once you finish doing this, put your name on it and turn the packet in to the basket.